Aaron, back home in Cleveland, contrast the euphoria of July 11th when the news hit to the rude reality of a frigid January.
Bob, it's safe to say that the honeymoon in Cleveland is over. We banged calls on our show in Cleveland on whether or not to fire David Blatt for 2 straight hours yesterday. Didn't have an open phone line. And I'd say that probably 65% of fans are ready to make a coaching change. People are stunned. They thought this team with the big three was going to cruise through the regular season and be a championship contender. And the fact that they are now under 500 and now Brown's season is over. Ohio State's won the national championship and it's behind us. All the attention is moving to the Cavaliers. They're in the midst of a serious swoon, and the fans are really starting to freak out here.
All right, Dave, you mentioned that David Blatt was referring to some of the reports. Anybody else talk about the conversations on the court in the last day or two? The report that, as Brian has brought us, that openly discussing, even with opposing players, we're slowing it down to get rid of our coach, the implication being it's a passive-aggressive, basically slowdown strike.
That hasn't been addressed by the players. You know, there was other controversies to talk about today, namely Kevin Love being benched in the 4th quarter against Phoenix.
We
for
only
the
have a
second
half
time.
hour. Help me here. All right, what, aside from Blatt's reaction to Brian's story, though, what was topic 1A? Was it Love?
Yeah, I think Kevin Love was, you know, not only is the fact that he's been benched twice in the last 2 weeks in the 4th quarter, but his contract status. And he may have told Cleveland.com that he intends to not opt out and be certainly a Cavalier for next year. But everyone around the league, as Brian has mentioned, is whispering, saying, this guy can walk. And there's plenty of amazing destinations with dollars that could throw to him. Here in Los Angeles, the Lakers for one, Boston Celtics, New York Knicks, storied franchises. And certainly through the first 40 games of the season, you don't see anything that makes you think that Kevin Love is a fit for this team the way David Blatt is currently running them.
Any doubt he's going to opt out?
Say that again?
Any doubt that he would opt out? It makes all the, even if he stays, it makes all the financial sense in the world.
Yeah, I mean, you've seen it before, though. Dwight Howard left the Lakers for the Houston Rockets, leaving $30 million on the table. And you also know that the new television deal is coming down the pike in a couple seasons, and maybe the dollars don't matter quite as much. I think what you could certainly see is him not commit long-term this summer, wait another year, continue to put the pressure on the Cavs franchise to get it right, and then maybe he could leave at that point.
Avery, let's go back to your impressions back in June when David Blatt was hired in June, 3 weeks before LeBron made his decision to come home. I mean, you're dealing with the signature player in the sport, one of the signature players in the planet. You're going to hire a coach, and it was an out-of-the-box hire, no doubt, before you've got LeBron coming in. When you saw that sequence of events, what did you think to yourself?
Well, it was unusual, especially if they had any idea that LeBron was potentially was going to return to Cleveland. I think in that situation, if that was a high probability, which I thought, and my man Brian Windhorst can vouch for me, I think it would have been better to wait so that LeBron James could feel a part of that decision. But now it's in the past. David Blatt's his coach. I think the main thing is for those guys to build their relationship, and you can't necessarily do it publicly. I think they got to spend more time behind the scenes together, you know, in David Blatt's hotel room, watching video, picking LeBron James's brain, just trying to figure out how to get it right with practice, in the game situations. They just have to get on the same page, because whatever happens privately, it comes out in that way publicly. So I just think they got to spend more time. And I think LeBron James is going to have to own up a little bit more. His body language is going to have to improve. His leadership characteristics and traits that we all respect is going to have to go to another level.
How can that be? He's in his 12th year in the league. He's got 2 rings. He was hired as the centerpiece, signed as the centerpiece, and you're saying there's a lack of leadership qualities for a guy who is the rock upon which they're building this church in Cleveland.
Yeah, and sometimes, Bob, they're only human. You know, LeBron's been to the finals 4 years in a row. And, you know, he's coming from a situation where you had Pat Riley, Eric Spoelstra, a lot of great organizational structure. You're playing with Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh and Shane Battier. He's coming from a different situation. So I think there could have been a little bit of mental fatigue, not only the physical fatigue. And I just think, you know, over the next 2 or 3 weeks, it's going to say a lot about how LeBron James is going to be more rejuvenated, and I think you're going to see him become a better leader for the rest of this season.
Brian, what's your sense from the folks you talk to quietly? Is this salvageable?
Yeah, they have this wonderful advantage that they should wake up every morning and thank goodness for, that they play in the Eastern Conference. And even if you look at the East, at the teams at the top, I don't think the Cavs probably fear any team other than the Bulls. Certainly the Hawks are impressive. The Raptors playing great. But if they can get themselves squared away, and all this talk about the coach and who's calling timeouts and who's running the plays and what's happening, that is all sort of periphery. The central reason this team is struggling is that they are a very poor defensive team. There's about 5 reasons why they're a poor defensive team, and one of them is that they don't have a lot of defensive talent. Another is they don't play together very well. Another is that they don't have great communication with their coaching staff. And that's one of the reasons you've seen so many worries about the relationship with the coach, because even if you don't have great shot blockers and wing defenders, you like to see effort on defense. And this team, from an effort standpoint, hasn't been there. Their ability to just give a little bit more effort could make a huge difference. And I really do believe you're going to see a different LeBron James. When he came out in Phoenix the other night, the way he played that game, I think, is the indication of the way he's going to try to play going forward. And if he continues to play at that level, they're going to win games. The key is, can this rub off, and this slowdown that I believe he was a part of leading, can he turn it around? Because I do think in his head LeBron may have gotten to the point where he believes the Cavs are probably not going to make a coaching change, so he better make the best of what he's got, and I see some indications that's what he's going to do.
So, Aaron, has there been a recalibration of what would constitute a successful season now, given the fact they're 19-20? I mean, anything can happen in the East. You get a good fortnight together, you can zoom right up the charts. But what constitutes success today?
Yeah, interesting. I think that when LeBron came back in July, we all figured that there would be kind of this honeymoon year where if they didn't win at all, then, you know, it would be okay because at least LeBron is back. Well, now, after you got Kevin Love and after they've struggled so much, the honeymoon is kind of gone. I think the Cavs need to at least get to the conference finals in order to be considered having a successful year. I think if they lose in the first round, that's considered a huge failure. If they even win one round and make it to round 2 and lose, I still think that's a failure. I think they better make it to the conference finals in order for fans to say, okay, they're headed in the right direction, and I think they can build on that.